G'day, it's Robbie again. Well, it is winter in Adelaide and it looks like this patch of dry weather we've been having is coming to an end, so I'm going to do a bit more metal casting today just to try out another little idea. And I think next week the weather will be wet, so I won't be able to do any more because my furnace is wood fired and it's outside. So yeah, but I'm still going to follow up on this particular job that was in my last video to make up a better, a reusable metal mould for it. I'll get there anyway. But in this video I'm going to try and cast some round stock using a different sort of mould. I mean, previously I tried to cast it in metal tube and I was, relying on the aluminium shrinking enough that you could knock it out, but it doesn't really work very well. And some of those tubes, aren't perfectly round, so you find that when you try and get the aluminium out, it won't come out. So what I've done is I've got some heavy walled tubing, and I've slid it through. So I'll give you a close-up on what we're doing here. The heavy walled tubing was necessary because if you try and make up something like this, I mean, the problem you've got is that when you slit through the tubing, of course, and you put it back together again, of course it's no longer round because you've taken out 2 mil here and 2 mil there, so you've effectively lost 4 mil roughly out of the circumference of the tubing. So it's going to be, sort of this shape, and so you have to have thick walled tubing so that you can then run the boring bar through it to make it cylindrical again. The other option is, of course, you just cast it in the sort of, elliptical or whatever you want to call it shape, and then machine it back afterwards. Of course, then you're going to waste aluminium and you finish up with a smaller product. So in this case, I just, you can see, heavy walled tubing, clamped it with 2 exhaust clamps, and then ran the boring bar through it. The dimensions of it are going to be quite handy because you don't want big diameter stuff all the time. So what have we got? We've got 45 by 93. So that's quite handy. And seeing as the weather's fine today, I'll just do a pour on this. I was going to hold off and do the 2 pours, do this and the new version of this as well at the same time, but it looks like the weather's going to beat me because I haven't got enough scrap metal to rework this. I've been playing around and trying to make something, but I've run out of scrap. So yeah, we'll do a pour on this. I'll go out and cut up a bit of wood and fire up the furnace, and we'll see how it turns out. I had an inquiry as to what type of material my old furnace was made out of, and it's just concrete blocks. That's all it is, just ordinary concrete blocks. These are blocks that were part of an old incinerator. In years gone by, all houses in South Australia had backyard incinerators to burn up cuttings and stuff, but now of course they've got a green waste collection, and they want to stop pollution, so no more incinerators. They're outlawed, but you can still do things like this because, and once again, when you use the blower on this to crank up the heat enormously, it basically eliminates smoke too. There's no smoke at all really when the blower's going. How hot does it get? It gets pretty damn hot. It won't melt brass, but it will melt aluminium, and I mean that is a cast steel grill that I was using that way, and the heat's just sagged it. You can see she's pretty hot in there. So I just turn it over and I'll use the other side and it can sag back the other way. But yeah, so that's all there is to it. The big item, the big ticket item is the blower. You've got to have forced air induction, and then your temperature will go up, you know, literally 400%. It's incredible, and of course you just run it on any old crap timber you got laying around, cost you nothing. Okay, I'll get it stoked up. In this video you'll also notice I've made up a new bigger melting pot, same handle, but a bigger melting pot, and that's just the casing from an old DC electric motor with a steel base welded in and the old original handle put onto it. I've also got this set up, so this is only attached on this end. The tubing is insulated away from the shaft, so that's just a basic heat insulator for the grip, so that should make it, not that the heat was a real problem, but the shaft was a bit narrow for my hand, so I just did it that way, and at the same time insulated it. So okay, we'll get the blower going and we'll start melting. See, the blower makes a humongous difference, and of course the blower I'm using is the one you would have seen in previous videos. So now I'll let it melt down. I'm poking a bit more wood, and yeah, we'll move right along. Well, how good was it? Well, it was that good that my machining job inside must be perfectly round, because when I put this under the tap and I went to pick it up again, the aluminium just fell straight out. It just drops in and out. No worries at all. So how's that, eh? That looks pretty damn good. So now I'll dry this off and I'll do a second pour, and then I'll machine it and see how it comes up. So yeah, running the boring bar through the tube, it looks like you could use ordinary tube rather than even use the clamps. Just use ordinary tube but run a boring bar through it, so you get a perfectly cylindrical finish inside. And that being the case, this will then just drop straight out like it did here. I haven't loosened those clamps at all, and it just fell straight out. Anyway, I'll do another pour while I'm at it. Right, well, it's the first one that we did, and I put the dregs in this, and I haven't touched this. I just put it under the tap and it just drops out like that. Look at that. Okay, that'll just go back in the scrap bin, but it shows that this worked pretty good. So it looks like the uniformity thing is the whole key to this. You've got to get pipe which is uniform, so you've got to machine it out with a boring bar. Now, seeing as this was 93 mil long, to get twice that length, I would have to obviously have a piece of tube twice as long, but then I would machine in from one end and then turn it and machine in from the other end. And being a tube, I could run it in a steady, so it's all doable. So I can actually make a length of alloy, solid round, twice as long using this method. Even if you're machining, and even if there was a difference between the two runs of the boring bar, one from each end, provided you had the thick end to the bottom
the wider end's to the bottom. When you cool it, it should just drop out from that end anyway. So that's the next thing. Try it with just a plain piece of tube and don't worry about slitting through. Certainly this works fantastically. So, you know, if the other method doesn't work, well, this does. It works great. But as I said, yeah, the benefit of doing it in tube is you'll be able to run a steady on it, fixed steady on it when you're machining it with a boring bar, which is a big thing, particularly when you've got so much overhang and that. But okay, well, that's it. Well, not quite it. I almost forgot to machine it and see what it turns out like. So we'll run it through. Well, there you go. Look at that. Beautiful. You wouldn't buy better in a shop. That is absolutely first class. No porosity whatsoever. And a lovely finish. There you go. Home brewed aluminium. All it took was a little bit of electricity for a blower, some scrap timber, and a little bit of time. There you go. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Cheers.